If you can hear me all right, drop a comment below. I am still monitoring on my phone, but I have my phone. If you can hear me all right, drop a comment below. There we go. Again, no intro tonight. I'm just gonna get through these topics, and then my two guests will be coming in at 10:30. Give y'all about 30 more seconds, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get through these topics. I guess while I'm waiting on you guys to come into the live, uh, since I didn't actually include it as an official topic of tonight, I can I could share a little story with you guys. So, think that was this morning, maybe it was last night. I posted that I would have been reflecting on different things, and a question that has been asked a lot frequently or in recent time: when was the first time that you experienced racism and or discrimination? And I used to always refer back to this one particular story that happened when I was in high school. But the more I thought, it actually goes back further than that. So one instance happened when I was in first grade. Like I said, I'm telling you guys this little story real quick before I go into the topics. So back when I was in first grade, um, at that time I was living with my birth mother. My birth mother was still alive, and we were extremely poor. I'm not even upfront. We were poor, but still always ate. Maybe not necessarily what I wanted to eat, but I always ate. And I always had decent clothes with no holes and stuff in my clothes. It may not have been name brand, but it wasn't no holes, nothing. My hair was combed, all of that. There's a reason why I'm setting the stage for that. Just you need to know that before I go into the rest of the story. So, first grade, one of my classmates, their house burned down. They were I don't know, I guess fairly wealthy. I wouldn't necessarily say wealthy, but they had a lot more money than some of the black kids. I put it that way. Their house burned down. They lost everything. Uh, and they sent the note home with the students saying that asking for donations because they lost everything. So me being the kid that I was with my pure heart, I um I got a couple things, and one of them was I can't remember what it was. It was something. It was a toy or something that was really special to me. But me with my pure heart, I just wanted to help the people who lost everything. So I bring my donations in, you know, with all happy thinking, I'm doing the right thing and people are going to, they're going to be happy that I did this. Only to get to school and the teacher told me, we don't need your donation. I don't know if other people that was in my class at the time may remember that, but yeah, that I kind of blocked that shit out of my mind for a long time. So it took for recently for me to actually be reflecting on stuff for that me to remember that. But yeah, we were asked for donations for somebody whose house burned down and they lost everything, and They told me, looked me in my face, a 6-year-old kid, and told me that we don't need your donation. Like, thinking back, it's like, and me being an adult, I'm thinking like that was a different way they could have handled that. Even if they decided that they weren't going to use what I donated, should you have told a kid that we don't need your donation? You didn't need the donation from the little black kid, the little poor black kid. Imagine the level of privilege that you have to lose everything and be picky about the donations that you receive. But yeah, I just wanted to share that little story with you guys. But I ain't gonna hold up too much of your time because we are on a schedule, and I do have guests that we're going to. I'm going to be bringing on later, so I will go ahead and get through these topics. But that's just something to put on your mental real quick. So let's get to these topics. Hold on. What's my screen? Wait a minute. All right. First off, happy Juneteenth. We know what Juneteenth is. Today is the day that we are celebrating the actual end to slavery. We know that slavery was supposed to end with the Emancipation Proclamation. However, it did not end that way. Slaves in Galveston, Texas did not find out that they were actually in fact free until June 19th, 1865. So that is why we celebrate Juneteenth today. All right, going into these topics. The first topic, the officers involved in the fatal shooting. One of the officers involved in the fatal shooting of Breonna Taylor has been fired. Again, only one officer, not all three, and there's been no charges brought against them. Again, one officer has been fired, not all three officers, and no charges has been brought against them. So this morning, protesters decided they were going to go to the home of Mitch McConnell and wake him up. You see, if you can see on the sign, it says Breonna couldn't sleep, neither should Mitch. So they chanted, "Wake up, Mitch." I thought that was kind of funny because it was like almost "wake up, bit." Okay, I ain't gonna go there because I know I may have certain people watching tonight. So I'm trying to censor myself just a little bit, but I'm not worried about this video getting monetized or getting no strikes because we just doing real talk over here. Straight, no chaser. But yes, I think that we should not let up on these people because it has been approximately 90 days since Breonna was killed, and there still have been no charges brought. 90 days and no charges. So don't let up on them. I mean, we getting charges for we want charges for everybody, and we want her case to not get swept under the rug like what happens so many times. There's a lot of the times the focus ends up on the men, and not saying that it should not be on them, but it needs to be equally on every single case. So let's not let up, and we need to stay on these lawmakers' necks and make sure that they're actually moving to do something. Because if there's any case that y'all could they could flip any of these other cases on them, we're not letting them. But They can try to flip any of these other cases on people, but in reality, they can't not say that this one is not wrong. They knocked on the wrong, they came to the wrong house with a no-knock warrant. So there's no way that they can say that this woman does not deserve justice. Exactly, just like Sandra Bland. Hold on, let me go back to my screen real quick. Just like Sandra Bland. So, and go to the next topic real quick. We have 6 people of color that have died in a recent string of hangings across the country. I put this here because you don't hear of All Lives Matter getting ruled as a suicide. There is absolutely no reason in 2020 that 6 people just end up being hanged and nobody says anything. They want to say that there is suicide? Who in the hell, how many black people you know committing suicide by hanging outside of a public fucking building? Excuse me for the cursing. I'm just gonna be real. I'm sorry. I get passionate about this stuff. So, but what black person you know in 2020 is going to commit suicide by hanging outside of a public building? One was found near a courthouse, a fucking courthouse. I'm waving to my guests. Y'all can't see him yet, but I'm waving. A fucking courthouse. And they don't feel that that's suspicious. So it took for us to start sharing this shit on social media for them to actually decide that they want to do something about it, that they actually want to start investigating this. It's ridiculous that this is what we're dealing with in 2020, and people still have something to say about our protests. Like, I don't understand how you can still find a way to have find some way to have a problem with people protesting when you see all the shit that's happening around us. That's why we say Black Lives Matter. It doesn't mean that all lives don't matter. It means that y'all not fucking paying attention to us. Okay, so I want y'all to keep looking into that, keep sharing, keep protesting. Don't let your foot off their necks. Next topic we're gonna go with: the officers involved in the Rayshard Brooks shooting have been arrested and charged. Those of us here in the Atlanta area, this was a big move for us to get them to charge them so quickly. I know there was debate on exactly whether or not the shooting may have been justified. However, when you get into the details of what actually happened that night, you really can't question. You really can't question what happened, because us as a civilian, we might not necessarily know this, but being from the military, I can tell you that when you're trained on something, it's drilled into your head repeatedly. So you train so much that it becomes an instinct, and everything about it becomes instinct. That's why you're constantly training. So for them to be trained to know that a taser being deployed twice means it's no longer inactive, they knew that it was no reason to shoot that man because he couldn't have done anything to them. We didn't know that, but they knew. They shot him in his back. And it was also reckless because they did not weigh the options. You're supposed to take into account whether or not trying to go after this one person is worth risking the lives of the crowd of people that were in that parking lot in their cars. And they actually ended up shooting into someone else's car and almost injuring them. So they were not only just, they shouldn't have shot him, but they were reckless in their actions. So in response to them actually being charged, there's been a lot of police, and we're going on the third day, that they're not showing up for work because they call themselves protesting those officers being charged. And if you don't know, before this situation happened, you know, we also had the situation with the college students from the protest being yanked out of their vehicles. So in that time, before the Rayshard Brooks situation, we already had 19 officers that walked off the job because they were upset about those officers being charged. So, in addition to them feeling like those officers shouldn't have been charged for snatching those kids out of the vehicle like that, they also feel they want to protest that these officers are being charged for killing this man. So it's a crazy time that we're living in, like in the world in general, but it's definitely a crazy time in the city of Atlanta right now. Next topic, we got, I just want to go in on this nigga real quick. Whew, Lord. Cry So this nigga goes from standing here looking like he goes from standing here looking like a fucking, I don't know, a Black Panther, like he's auditioning for the next Black Panther movie, to talking about reverse racism. Reverse racism. Like right now, with what everything we got going on right now, you as a Black man have the fucking nerve to say that Black people are putting off reverse racism against white people. How fucking dumb can you be? I'm sorry for cursing, but like seriously, how dumb can you be? What? How, the audacity of you to sit here and talk about reverse racism? Like to even know that you just stood in the protest for George Floyd and come back from that and say reverse racism, and now you gonna do what you always do when people call you out about it. You gonna make some damn you gonna make a video crying, and honestly gonna be saying that, you know, Black people are picking on you, Black people don't show you no love no more. Like, you just, how the hell are we supposed to back you with this dumb shit? Like, you're a talented singer, but we can't back you with this dumb shit. We can't. You see what's going on right now. We can't. There's no way that we can back you with this shit. That's exactly why I called his ass Cry Reese. Because that's exactly what he gonna do. He gonna sit there, he gonna cry about the shit and talk about we not supporting his ass. We don't want to support real R&B and all. Man, ain't nobody got time for you in that bullshit. Nobody has time for you to that. Like, we really don't. We're at war right now. The world is on fire, and your ass want to bring up some goddamn reverse racism. I'm sorry. I had to show this one so everybody know what I'm laughing at. You missed like a whole like 20 minutes of conversation. But thank you for coming in. Clarice, we talking about Clarice Dion and his claim of black people and reverse racism. I don't get it. So we're gonna move along because I just got a couple more minutes before my guests get in here. Next topic we're gonna bring up this young lady. I don't want to butcher her name, so I'm just gonna say her last name, Miss Salu. And I still may be saying it wrong. Please, none of my Nigerian friends and none of that, please don't jump on my ass for that. I'm sorry, I just didn't know how to pronounce it. But this young lady was 19 years old, and she was basically leading protests in Jacksonville, Florida. But you know, she's been getting out and standing and fighting for black men, and a black man ended up raping and killing her and pretending as if he was going to help her, and gave her a ride, and he ended up sexually assaulting her. She put out a string of tweets letting the world know what was going on about her and how she wasn't going to shut up about what happened to her, and then she ended up missing. And unfortunately, a few days ago they found her body. I relate so much to her because I myself have been raped, and I've also I was raped twice while I was in the Air Force on two separate occasions, a few years apart from each other. And also I had someone a few years ago, was this in 2020, late 2015. I had an attempted kidnapping, and I sat there in a room. I was at a Greyhound bus station. I was going through some things at the time, and had just arrived at the bus station, waiting on my ride, my Uber to my hotel, and this man tries to snatch me out of there. I'm screaming, trying to get away from him. It's a room full of people. It's a room full of fucking people. I'm talking about the armed security is standing there. There's other people that are sitting inside waiting for their bus. Because me, I'm thinking as long as I'm inside, I'm safe. This man is trying to drag me out. I'm screaming. I'm telling people I don't know who this man is, and everybody sits there and watch the shit like it's a fucking movie. So it shocked me and it traumatized me to honestly to the point that now that like I have issues with living by myself because I feel like I have to have somebody around me to feel safe. So it's when people talk about not being protected, it's the fact that a whole crowd of people can literally sit there and watch somebody try to kidnap you and they don't do nothing. Nobody tries to call 911. Nobody literally does nothing at all. So I've made it a thing for myself that anytime I see another woman in distress, that I try to help. And it's been people who have told me, like, you know, that may not be the smartest thing or the safest thing, but like in my mind, I just think about how if somebody had helped me, I wouldn't have to fight so hard to try to give away on myself. And honestly, I think I probably had an angel looking out for me that night because my Uber driver ended up showing up, and um, he showed up and he was an older man. He came inside and he got my stuff and he walked me out. The dude started reaching in his waistband. We know people carry their gun in their waistband, but he started reaching in his waistband. I can't say that he had one, but it's highly likely that he was reaching for his gun. He's pissed off. He's like, "Oh, so is this why you wouldn't go with me? Because you like older men?" And I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with you randomly picking me and trying to snatch me out of there? I already told you I'm not giving you my number, and you literally try to drag me out of somewhere with you. Like this is the world that we fucking live in. And yes, this was a black man doing this to another black woman. I don't so when we talk about not feeling protected, it's not because of some random incident we seen on the internet. It's shit that we've actually experienced and lived our damn selves. Both of my rapists, when I was in the Air Force, both of my rapists were black. Both times. And the second time, I didn't even fucking say anything because the first case got thrown out and it just fucking vanished. There's no record of my first fucking case. The shit vanished. So, yeah. So that brings me, I'm looking for my other guest. She has not showed up yet. Ashley, you got like 2 minutes, boo boo. I'm trying to stall a little bit. So, the No Name versus J. Cole situation is why I wanted to getting two guests, a black man and a black woman, to come in and be able to talk about um, this particular situation. Um, while I don't see either one of them being wrong. I'll go with that. I see where she's coming from, where she's saying that, you know, she wants to see these people out here doing more, and she has every right to that opinion. Um, but I also see his point of view, and even I say I see his point of view because we've how can I put this? We've seen J. Cole actually active in these protests. Like, but he's one of those people that he doesn't have to be front and center. He kind of likes to play backseat a little bit and let everybody else catch the spotlight because he doesn't like the spotlight to just be on him. He's transitioned from the way he was when he first came out, and if you paid attention to him as an artist, you would actually know that he's one of those people that he doesn't like a lot of attention. Um, but that brought me to wanting to have this conversation and allow both sides, the man and the woman, to be able to share how they feel, not necessarily about just No Name and J. Cole, but about the black man versus black woman situation that we have going on right now. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm still waiting on Ashley to show up, unless because it showed her earlier. But introduce my two guests. My first guest is here, so I'm going to go ahead and bring him on. Mr. Travis Howard, my classmate, but he's also the general manager of Car-Mart of Covington, Georgia, and sales director with Financial Education Services. So,
Hey, what's going on?
hey, what's
How you
up,
doing?
Trav?
Same old,
Good.
nothing much. So talk to me.
Hold on, let me change this layout real quick. There we go. So, hold on, I got a private chat. Let's see what's going on. No, hold on. It says device is not connected. It don't show you, Ashley. Exit out and click the link again. So, while we're still waiting on her, tell me a little bit about what you do right now, or if you want to talk about. I know you could talk about managing, but I want to give you a chance to talk about your personal business.
Well, what I'm attempting to do right now with the company Financial Education Services is put people in position to better understand how money works, how credit works, and ultimately how to use those things to put us in positions that we haven't really had an opportunity to be in as a majority of our people. And it's not just us, but when you think about when you think about
you can keep talking. I'm just gonna add her to.
Okay. When you think about the percentage of wealth or the way wealth is divided, I think that some financial literacy will help us to gain a bigger portion of that pie, so to speak. And so trying to put people in position and educating people on that is what I attempt to do.
All right. I definitely can understand about that. I unfortunately had to. I've just became a commercial property owner.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, with the loss of my mother, but she, unlike most salon owners, she actually owned the lot next to her salon and her salon. So she owned her building, not just leasing it. So she, obviously she left that to me and my sisters. So, before I was able to actually buy my own house, I had now a commercial property and a rental property because instead of any of us moving back to Blytheville, we decided to rent the house out. Turn your mic on, Ashley.
I did. I had to clear my throat.
Okay. So, Ashley, I gave him a chance to tell us about himself real quick. Tell us about yourself before we get into the conversation.
Okay, so basically I met Miss Diva Nicole while we were both in the Air Force. I had no idea that you went through the stuff that you went through, because we only knew each other for a short amount of time while I was there. So I do want to say I'm sorry that you went through that, because I had no idea. A lot of that stuff happens in the military, and a lot of people don't even know about it. But anyways, I model currently. I'm a stay-at-home mom. That's it right now. I ain't trying to tell y'all too much because I don't like putting my business out there. You don't know who wishing bad on you.
I understand. So, like I was previously saying, the No Name and J. Cole situation, it brought about the need for this conversation, but I don't want it to be the complete focal point of the conversation because it shines a light on a bigger problem, how Black women, who don't have headphones? Somebody got an echo.
I don't have headphones. Want to grab some real quick?
Yeah.
Okay.
say something real quick, Ashley.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I don't think it's your echo.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm sitting in a room by myself. Ain't no bare walls or nothing like that.
But I think it shines a light on a bigger problem, how Black women feel unprotected and how we feel that Black men should actually be leading this whole thing, but it seems like we end up having to be the ones out in front, and they turn around and will still say some of the most disgusting things or do some of the most disgusting things to us.
I can agree and disagree. It just really depends on the type of people that you surround yourself with. And social media is hard to do that because people pick one side and then they're on the other side. So you never really know how people really feel about stuff. But I agree. Us women, we're on the front line a lot. Back home, there was a young woman, I think she was about 19, and she started the protest back home. She organized it and everything. And I saw people trying to take credit for it. And she's like, nah, that was me. And I was like, that's what's up. And she's only 19. I'm like, go ahead, queen.
I saw, I don't know where the echo's coming from. Okay. I can't figure it out. But, I saw the people who had the protests in Nashville. They were like 14 through 16. It was young girls.
Yep.
And I was like, I would have never thought to do anything like that when I was like 14 and 16.
Right, that's what I said too. I was like, I always like thought to like want to be a part of stuff like that, but I would have never thought to organize it.
So where did they do this? You said Nashville. I've been trying to get these headphones working. What city you say they were in? Okay.
Nashville.
In Nashville, yeah.
Okay.
Ashley, try turning your or one of y'all try turning your volume down a little bit.
How about that?
I don't know. We ain't gonna figure out this echo probably.
It is what it is.
We just gonna have to roll with it.
I can still hear you pretty good now that I got my headphones in, right?
Okay.
But yeah, so on this J. Cole thing, like everybody's like, oh, cancel J. Cole, because just like you was talking about the topic of men protecting the Black men protecting us Black women. I want to hear a man's perspective real quick.
So when I heard the song, it didn't come across to me initially the way it probably was perceived. It came across to me as more of a cry for help. He seemed to come across more as being ignorant to what she was, or the alleged person's point of view was, and he was more so criticizing the delivery of the message as opposed to the message itself. And so, for example, I've been told that you can deliver the exact same message on a pillow or on a spear. Depending on which method you deliver it, the reception of the message is going to be completely different. And so if you deliver it on a spear and you stabbing me with whatever it is, even if it's the truth, it's harder to accept it, or it's harder to digest it, as opposed to giving it to us in a fashion that we can really understand. And so that's what it sounded like he was saying. He admitted that he might be wrong, or he might not be on the forefront as he should. But give it to us in a different way is kind of what it seemed like he was saying to me.
Right. I agree. I listened to the lyrics, and he literally said, like, don't beat me up for like not being as intelligent as you. Like, to me, he was giving her props. Right. Because he's saying, just like you said, like, he's like, I'm not on the forefront, but you are. He was like, that queen tone. He was like, I don't know what that's about. I don't know why you're being that way, but whatever, you know, and he's willing to learn. Like, that's what I got from that.
Right.
That's one of the things, like, that's kind of how I took it. But on the flip side, if like you see what B Web is saying, Brittany, that's what white people have been saying about us. And I guess the consensus seems to be that they're feeling he's all lives mattering her. Like, she's saying, hey, you need to do this, and then you're like, oh, you shouldn't have said it to me like that.
Well, okay, I have an opinion. It may be unpopular and I don't care. But I saw her tweet, the original tweet that she made about the whole situation, and originally before he even made the song. And I don't feel like she was like literally taking a shot at J. Cole. I think she might have a little bit, but I don't really think it was like all the way directed at him. You know what I'm saying? So I think maybe the fans took it and twisted it and made it that way. And that's where his response came from. And I don't think his response was directly at her either, because he could be talking about anybody. There's plenty of people, even myself, you know, I've made statements similar to what she said about, you know, black men not supporting black women and stuff like that. He could be talking about anybody.
And to speak on that same point, and also what B Web was saying, I think that anytime you criticize someone that is on your side, but it's asking for you to be tactful, I think that could be a little off base, especially when there's an acknowledgement that what you're saying is accurate, and that, you know, you have a point, etc. Someone who's as educated as J. Cole is, acknowledging that he's incorrect or that he doesn't know as much as he probably needs to, indirectly gives other people the license to be courageous enough to say, you know what, I might not have enough understanding. Let me look a little bit closer as well. And so when she speaks of the All Lives Matter movement, I get that 100%. I'm not a proponent of that either, because in their instance, it's not from the purpose, or it's not for the purpose of seeking additional information so that they can learn. It's deflecting. It's the same way, like if you follow sports, every time LeBron James has something positive to say, they don't focus on what he said. They deflect to say, you didn't say nothing against China, because there's a scandal going on saying that China's, you know, a major funding source for the NBA. And so they deflect off of the point that he's making. And by bringing China up, All Lives Matter is deflecting off of Black Lives Matter by saying All Lives Matter. He's not deflecting from the point. He's just acknowledging that, hey, we don't understand as much as you. Educate us in a different fashion. And that's my belief of that. And so it wasn't a deflection to me. He's accepting the criticism. If All Lives Matter said specifically, you know what? Black lives do matter. You guys have been mistreated. How do we come together so that all lives can matter? It may come across different, but they're deflecting, and that's not what he was doing, in my opinion.
Okay. Hold on. I don't know where she went to. Hold on. She's like, her phone is being weird. Okay. There we go.
Every time I get on topics like this or be watching videos on YouTube, my phone starts acting crazy.
But did you catch the last of what I was saying?
I ain't even gonna lie, I missed most of it. I had to close everything out and start all over.
My basic point was that All Lives Matter, as opposed to what J. Cole was doing, they are doing more deflecting off of the point that he was attempting to make. And he was accepting, but asking essentially for there to be a little bit more tact involved so that more people can be willing to accept it. Whereas, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say I do agree with that. Because not everybody is on the same level of woke or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I heard somebody explain it like this: like, there's different levels or different pieces of land that's being surveyed by each person, and it may be in your path to explore that certain piece of land, and it may not be. And if that information is shared with you and it doesn't resonate, then it's not for you. And a lot of people don't understand that. So if someone doesn't understand what you're explaining to them, then it's not for them, and you just got to plant your seed and keep on moving.
Yeah. And pull that that if it's possible to pull that quote up, that B. Yeah. First of all, shout out to B Web. I appreciate the engagement for sure.
Right.
You know, I think healthy debate is a good thing. You know, we ought to be able to talk about things from both perspectives. But let's talk about the stereotype of that. Is that a stereotype that has been created by Black men? Is that a stereotype that's been created by Black women? Who do you think has created that stereotype? So let's see if we can talk about it.
You know, those stereotypes, we know who created them. The stereotypes were created by the racist whites.
Okay.
I mean, let's call it what it is. But I do feel there are some Black men, not all, that sit here and they perpetuate that stereotype on Black women even more. Because when somebody turns them down or something, everybody, none of us are no fucking supermodels. Hey, I'm beautiful. I feel like I'm beautiful as fuck, but I ain't no supermodel.
Shit, I ain't either.
I'm not above. I'm not above being rejected by somebody. So for anybody to feel that when somebody rejects them, that gives them a right to put down all Black women because they've gotten rejected, they start perpetuating these stereotypes and reasons for why they want to date white women. And there's nothing wrong with them dating it, but it's something wrong that if you have to put your own people down to date outside your race.
It's difficult because a lot of times if people aren't really listening and in tune with what you're saying, it can come across as though you're defending a position that you're not. I'm going to attempt to speak on it anyway. Okay. I don't think that all Black women are angry Black women per se, but let's talk about the context of the reason why we're having this conversation. We talk about our Black men are not defending our Black women. Just like angry Black woman, that's an overgeneralization. That is true in some cases. It may be true in enough cases for it to become a stereotype, because the fact of the matter is a lot of times, just like other races, there's a stereotype that Mexicans work harder. It's a stereotype. It's an overgeneralization because that's not true of all of them, but it has been true of enough for people to adopt that way of thinking about that specific class. And so there's work to be done on both sides. I'm not saying anyone has to prove a stereotype wrong, but enough of the opposite, I believe, can help that to change. But a lot of times that's how we've allowed ourselves to be portrayed. Some of my favorite movies, The Baby Boys and Babs. I don't know if you guys even know about that. Babs. You know, that takes it way back.
We all in the same age range.
Yeah.
What was portrayed by us
was ghetto and ratchet a long time ago.
Look at the music sometimes.
Yep.
You know, there's not a lot of women rappers that are not attempting, is from what I can see, to come across as kind of angry, and men do the same thing, but it's not the generalization that we're trying to fight, because for men, being angry unfortunately sometimes comes across as you're tough, but because women are not viewed as being creatures that are intended to be tough, when it's toughness, that's where I think that stereotype comes from. And so we got to do work on both sides. We have to fight that if we want that thing to be started to be viewed as untrue, in my opinion.
on, sorry. Yes, we do have to fight that, but I also feel like we already, if any of us who've worked in type of corporate atmosphere, which honestly all three of us have, because that's all. I mean, the military is nothing but a fucking corporate structure. So we've already felt like we've had to walk on eggshells and
Everywhere.
change the way that we speak and everything. Because I mean, when I first joined the Air Force, I had to learn how to completely speak different because my accent coming from Blava was so thick that I had to learn how to completely speak different in order to be able to talk to airplanes and things, because certain words, it doesn't go across well on the radio.
Those are all facts. Those are all facts.
Like, the other thing is that you end up working with people who are country southern white people, some of them, and they have thick accents, but they're not made to police the way that they talk, the way we're made to police the way that we talk, to overcompensate for these stereotypes.
Correct. That is absolutely correct.
Let me ask you this. It's been said, and it's a popular thing, that we as Black people, and let me give a little bit of credit. If a Black man has it hard, we're still men. To be Black and to be a woman is more challenging than it is to be Black and to be a man in a lot of different social constructs. But back to the point, we understand that in order to get to the same places that other races have to get to, we have to be, they may say 2 times faster, 2 times stronger, 2 times smarter, right?
We already are.
Right.
And so let's think about it for a second. If I know I'm starting this 100-meter race at 0 and they're starting at 25, if you survey the field and you see everybody that looks like me back here at the starting line, and you see everybody that looks like them at the 25-yard line, and you know that's the case from the jump, that can't be the focus, right? I'm not saying it's not right or whatever the case may be, but right now, win the race, and then we'll talk about how unfair that shit was when we get there. You see what I'm saying? Because it ain't gonna change. So in the same way that you were speaking, when we get into a situation where we have to change things about us, whereas they don't, win first. The LeBron Jameses and these people that have gotten into position are in position, and now you can make the change that you need to make. But we gotta figure out how to get to where we're headed first, because if not, we're just gonna be seen as the people standing back there complaining that them folks is up ahead. We know that's the situation. We gotta figure out how to get that victory first.
That brings about another thing. If we have these people who have won the race, why aren't there more of them trying to actually help? Not saying that there aren't those that are, but I'm saying, why aren't there more of them that aren't trying to reach back?
It's crabs in a bucket. It's a survival mentality as opposed to a thriving mentality. And so when you are conditioned to survive as opposed to thrive, you got to protect what you have. Think about it this way. And I mentioned this in a video a little while ago, maybe about 6 months ago, but think about it this way. If you are someone, I'm sorry, let me give you a different analogy. Say you're a stray dog. If he finds food at a place, that dog is going to come back over and over and over again as long as he's finding food there, because he's been starving and that's where he found a meal. He ain't going to bring no other dogs with him, because he's just got to try to make sure he gets that meal on his own and he survives, right? So with us, some people have still not shifted out of that it's only enough for me mentality. And so when you believe that there's a scarcity in the resources that you need for you and yours to survive, that's where the robbing comes from. That's where the selling the things to our own people comes from, because we're not worried about us coming up. We're worried about me. fast. I mean, 100% what B said, self-preservation, survival of the fittest. But the bad thing is that that's human nature. The reason other races are not doing that as much as we are is because we so far back, we don't have an opportunity. And so just using the same race analogy, if we all started at the 50-yard line, it takes half the effort. I got energy to bring people with me.
But you have to look at it from the perspective also that most Black people, especially our generation and probably our parents too, they let me see. My parents are in their 50s, mid 50s, and my grandparents are about, in their 70s, whatever. So you got to think about it. Their great grandparents were slaves. Or just catching the end of slavery. You see what I'm saying? Or they were born right at the end of it. You see what I'm saying? So coming out of slavery, we didn't have nothing. They didn't have nothing.
Right.
They never got them 40 acres and a mule. So we don't have nothing. A lot of us can't come up because we didn't have nothing. And then on top of that, our parents, just like you was talking about in the beginning with building credit and stuff, we weren't taught that at home, and we damn sure wasn't taught it at school. We had to learn, like myself. I didn't I knew that my parents worked and they paid bills, but I never understood balancing money until I got in college and I was by myself. I had to figure it out on my own.
Right. But the way we change that is to give. And that might be give back, that may be give laterally, that may be collaboration, so on and so forth. And so that's why one of the things that I attempt to do, even before I got with the company that I'm with, who facilitates my ability to do so, I was putting videos out, just giving away free game, free tips, so on and so forth, because I could very well just go in on my own and not share any of these things. But even if it's one thing to give of yourself when it costs you nothing. It's different to give of yourself when it costs you a lot. It's sacrifice versus charity. You see what I'm saying? I'm not giving charity. These are things where I'm sacrificing time where I could be getting myself more, but I'd rather be bringing other people along. I'd rather be trying to do things to educate other people. And so it is exactly, it is showing when you have people that are trying to pull you down, and they're trying to pull you down, but you reach down anyway at the risk of being pulled down because you care more about the people at the bottom of the bucket than maintaining your position. Come on. You see what I'm saying?
She said, Shirley Wolf Travis. Dang.
I'm trying to share the world, but here's the thing, B. When I'm trying to speak, or when I'm doing videos, or when I'm I'm supposed to be coming to the town really, really soon and try to do some seminars. We got to wait till the COVID is over, but do some seminars. And what happens is our people, the same ones that say you get rich and switch, or the ones that say you act like you changed, you show up giving away knowledge. And you don't get no support. Now, whether I get support or not, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. I was putting them videos and giving and making posts just like I'm doing now, because even if all the 3,000 friends or 4,000 friends that I have don't respond, the 8 that need it will. And then the next time I give an effort, the 6 this time that needed it will. And then the next time, you see what I'm saying? Because it's a snowball effect. I'm not looking at the immediate gains that I'm seeing. I know that my sacrifice is for what I am attempting to sacrifice for. It's being done. The work that I want to do,
and it's worth it.
Being done. You see what I'm saying? And so if it's one, I'll take that one, and then the next time I reach down, I might get 2.
Let me give a shout out. I don't see him in here, but I'm gonna give a shout out to my partner, Reggie Robinson, the Ugly Reggie podcast.
Salute.
Oh, I saw that too.
He's been trying to partner up and have people on his show to do the same thing. People who give out information and stuff. Because when me and him originally came together, we wanted to create a media platform where both of us had our own independent audiences, but we wanted to create a media platform there we saw that it was a lack of positive Black media that, you know, where we could control our stories. So we decided to come together and create melanated media.
I like it.
Yeah, I was about to say, take the words right out of my mouth.
So we that's what we're trying to do more of. I took a back seat and was doing more of an administrative role because I was here going to school. I went straight out of cosmetology school into barbering school, and I'm actually going back into my third school of trichology to become a hair loss specialist. But I just wanted to give a shout out to him because he has been doing the work. So shout out to my boy.
Blessings.
Shout out Ugly Reggie.
Blessings.
That's what's up.
Is there anything else you two want to get out real quick before we wrap up?
Ladies first.
I did kind of want to touch back on the men not being as supportive of Black women. The thing that taints that the most, and I think we all know that, is social media. And just like Danielle, just like you said, the white man, I say to an extent. And the reason I say that is because think about J. Cole, like we was just talking about him. Well, they're only talking about him because they feel like he's talking shit about women, which he really wasn't. Right. But, you know, feel how you feel. But then you got all these other rappers out here calling women bitches and hoes. And you got the other female rappers talking about robbing niggas and shit like that. Like, what is that helping? What is that helping to do to build the community? I get where No Name was saying about people not standing up, but just like I said, if somebody's not on that level of understanding or overstanding or understanding, then you can't put that type of pressure on them.
I got 2 points to make, and I hope that it's received well. So first thing is, we have to give people the opportunity to tell their story, just like what we're speaking about now, because to somebody, this ain't good information. There's somebody out there that would believe that what we're talking about right now is bullshit.
Right.
And so, but we still want the platform to speak our truth, right? And so I'm not saying that they're right about what they're saying, so on and so forth, but we have to at least respect their right to say it. Part number 2 is, the problem is that we are not realizing that the major issue is what we're focusing on. It's like the magnifying glass effect. Whatever you're focusing on, you make bigger, right?
Yeah.
You spin that magnifying glass around and you make it smaller, right? Mm-hmm. And so
what is I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the comment because she knows, yeah, you know, you know her, and so you know she.
There are times when I'm gonna start looking forward to arguing with her. It's entertaining for me. It sharpens, but no, we give the one time it seems as though someone big is criticizing a woman, and we magnify it. What about the videos or the pictures of positive things, like a man taking care of his woman or a man supporting his woman, so on and so forth? We don't magnify that. That doesn't get as much press. And so we enable some of these things to continue to happen. If we saw a man, a woman, and their children in a grocery store and everybody took pictures of it, guess what would be the thing? They're going to buy what we pay attention to. And so if we made that a big deal, as opposed to making the drama a big deal, then that'll be the thing that's magnified, and that'll be what we see more so than the negativity.
That's facts.
I can agree with that. But I also can say, like I said, going back to my reason for us collaborating and creating the company, there is an agenda to make us look like a certain way, because you notice some of the artists that do speak about the positive stuff, they aren't even pushed as hard for us to even have a chance to really pick up on them.
By us either. We like,
I mean, some of them are, but on a wider scale, like I find myself like like I would say for several years I haven't even listened to the radio
Mm-hmm.
because I just really listen to my iPod. So I found out about a lot of artists by just hearing their song that randomly pops up in some of the playlists that are on Apple. And I'd be like, wow, that person's really good. I wonder why they haven't blown up like that.
Well, why is Wale not as popular?
That's what I was about to bring up too.
It's Future.
Yeah, it's because they always talking that real shit.
You know what I'm saying? What happened to Lupe?
Oh yeah.
See what I'm saying? Like, but we go and don't get me wrong. You know, the Young Thug is one of the guys. I wasn't a big Young Thug fan, but the last album was definitely riding. But why we ain't supporting Wale? It was Black Queen this and Ambitious Girl that he was positive, but we don't go by.
I think you missed that whole
No,
about Wale.
Yeah, I think he did.
What you talking about?
Go ahead.
So a lot of in this whole J. Cole thing, a lot of people have been wondering like why it seemed like he was responding to No Name, but he didn't have nothing to say about J. Cole when J. Cole was like, oh y'all, or he didn't have anything to say about Wale when Wale was basically like, oh y'all just taking up for y'all Messiah, talking about people back in J. Cole and saying he could suck his dick. And everybody's like, so why you ain't clap back at Wale saying he could suck your dick? You could suck his dick, but you said something about the girl. That's why I started laughing when you brought up his name.
Oh, no,
that is so true because that happens to me on my posts a lot. A lot of men come and Diva, you know, the men, they always come argue with me on my posts, but then when the men say something, they don't say anything to them. They just keep arguing with me. Like, why do men do that?
You and me, like, I need to honestly have you and her on at the same time because y'all both deal with that same stuff like all the time.
I don't know why dudes do that. I think we got to start using different words because men is different than some of this foolishness that you guys are sounding like you experiencing. It's two different things. Call these dudes.
We call them dudes. I was trying to,
fellas. Call them fellas.
Proper etiquette.
Tell them these fellas, not these men.
I would say, just from me seeing the stuff that me experiencing it and seeing things that B's posted, I will say I have been in instances where like straight men have left me hanging, and it's been gay men that actually backed me. For instance, when I was stationed in Mississippi, it was this guy that it was a couple guys that tried to talk to me or whatever. And at that time, like I was at the very, very beginning of going natural. Like that was back in like 2011. So my hair was, fairly short, but it was what I was confident in wearing my hair the way I wanted to. So like the dude was trying to talk to me and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not interested. Like I'm dating somebody or whatever. And for me turning that one guy down, his whole group of people, guys, just started like berating me. Oh, you nappy headed hoe, you old. That's why don't nobody really want your little you and all them little squiggly shits in your head. Don't just saying all this disgusting shit. Like I'm talking about, we inside the casino. If y'all ever been down to Biloxi and been inside the Hard Rock, it's a huge ass, like it's a fairly decent sized casino. I go from the club inside of the Hard Rock, walking out, and it's a long walk before you get out of the building to the parking garage. This whole group of dudes following me, and there was several other men, like they were just looking at like, oh my God. None of them try to break the dudes from following me or nothing. Watching these dudes follow me to my car, which that in itself could have turned to any damn thing. Cause it's late, it's nighttime, it's a club. So you already know it's like 2:00 in the morning. And the only people to actually step in and say something and make sure I got to my car safe was these two gay men.
I mean, yeah, that's terrible. All I can say about that is nobody that's up tries to bring people down, if that makes sense. People can only try to bring you to the level that they're at. And so if they're trying to reduce you, it's to where they were or where they felt like they were. Those are insecurities, you know, and so it doesn't make it right. But that's what that is. And so I don't know, you know, unfortunately, there are too many of those scenarios, but you know, I'm sorry that happened to you, sincerely, because I've seen it, you know what I'm saying? And there's been times where I've been in the groups where, you know, that was going on, you know, and I should have said something at those times, but you know, I'm not perfect either. I have been through periods of time where there's some insecurity, you know, and so I know what that insecurity feels like, and I know what that insecurity looks like when I can't identify who I am, even if I'm looking at me in the mirror. And so, you know, that it's a sad thing, not only for you, you know, the worst of it was for you because of the way that I'm sure that made you feel, but sad for them guys too, you know, for them to be able to do that and be comfortable with that tells you that they're not really comfortable with themselves. So that's my opinion.
And I just think that's why a lot of Black women feel that we're unprotected, because even though they're isolated events, for us, it seems to be a repeated history of it. And there's so many stories that as a collective that we come together and share, because that's even happened to me back when I was at home before I even went into the military. Like, you know, after we graduated, I was still 17 when we graduated, so I was still a virgin and everything, but I was working as a waitress at Skinny's. You know, they don't even exist no more, but back it then, you know, I was working, and I'm not gonna say their name because they're very popular now, and I ain't gonna put no dirt on their success and where they at right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a group. One of them is a singer. That's as much as I'm gonna give about who they are. But they come in there and, like, you know, they're commenting on my ass and this and that and trying to get me go to a hotel room with them. And like, for me, this shit was like completely like disgraceful. It's the waffle end or some shit like that down. That's what it turned into, B. That's what it was. But yeah.
Do we need to put B on the on the podcast?
One of these days I'm gonna get her ass on here, but that yeah. But just back to the story, like, they were commenting and they were saying, so like, it was so jarring for me because, like, whereas other people that we graduated with may have already lost their virginity and stuff, for them to say that to me, I was like, this is like the worst thing you could ever say. Like, what the hell about me makes you think I'm a hoe? That I'm just supposed to go to the hotel with all of y'all, and y'all know me from school. Y'all know my name ain't been out there,
and you ain't never heard nothing, right?
So why would you do that? And then what one of them didn't know, I was actually talking to one of their friends.
Wow.
So that in itself was awkward as hell for me. But to go from that night of them doing that, and even like the manager was like, do you want me to kick this table out? Because they were getting that crude with the shit that they were saying. I was like, no, I'm just gonna deal with it. I'm going to ANC at the time. I end up at school the next Monday, and one of those dudes is there at school. One of them was actually one of our classmates, and he was at school following me around, and I could listen to him talking to another one of our classmates about saying, yeah, her face ain't shit, but that ass. Like, you literally follow me around talking shit about me because I wasn't interested in you.
But you following me around though.
But that's just the
Fucking
that's the
weirdos.
weird ass shit that
Right,
you deal
fucking
with.
weirdos.
That's the weird ass shit that you deal with, and like nobody ever steps in and say anything. It stops it.
Right.
Like
It's like people feed more into it and they think it's funny.
The good ones that are around, they still just sit back and watch the shit happen and be like, "Yo, hey, that's not cool. Chill out." You know, anything like that. We want it. Don't even have to be you have to fight them. We want to see somebody that's like, "Hey, chill out. That's
Somebody
not cool."
to speak up.
Yeah,
that's it.
I understand it. I mean that's I don't know. I feel like I have to speak on behalf of men, not to protect that by no means, but just to be the male perspective. I mean, I got no words. I got no words for that. You know, you could try to blame it on the environment that you came from. There's no justification. You see what I'm saying? We have to do better. We have to understand, first of all, who we are, start to value ourselves. And then when we do so, we'll start to understand a major part of us being the best that we can be is who we're choosing to disrespect a whole lot more often than what, at all, really, it shouldn't be the case. And so I don't know,
Do you think that the disrespect comes from the lack of a father being in the household?
Mm-mm. I think all of those
for a fact for these ones that I was referring to, their father was around.
But here's the thing. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, and see, it's like that doesn't even matter, but sometimes it does. So that I was just making that point. That's all.
You could say like one male without a father can make the decision that I'm going to be the greatest dad because mine wasn't there.
Yep.
The other one can say I never knew how to be a dad because mine wasn't there. That's an excuse.
And just use as an excuse. Exactly.
Yeah. The thing that dictates how your life turns out is your response to the stimulus that you run into, or your response to the problems or the scenarios that you face. And so those are all excuses. Your response is what created that disrespect. It was what you chose to do. And so I don't subscribe to those type of excuses. Father, no father, mother, no mother, orphan, so on and so forth.
Do you think that the way a woman dresses or posts pictures on Facebook or whatever on social media, do you think that helps men determine how they treat women in general?
So unpopular opinion right here. The answer to that is no, but it does dictate what we believe she thinks about herself. And so sometimes what we believe she thinks about herself or what we believe she identifies as is what sometimes men choose to treat you as. You see what I'm saying? Because think about this. If you're in the strip club with very little clothes on and I throw $1 at you, you can't be offended. If you're in if you want a college campus and you're well clothed and I throw $1 at you, you probably can. You see what I'm saying? I gotta know who I'm dealing with. If you're in this environment,
it's not right. It's not also right to just assume.
It's not right to assume, but that's why I made sure that the environment and the setting was important. You see what I'm saying? Because there are certain places and there are certain things that a woman that identifies her as a specific thing is not going to frequent. Now, that doesn't give anybody the right to treat you or so on and so forth, but you have to show me who you want me to see. And so if you show me we should respect you either way. Make sure I put that out there. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're respectable, show me respectable. You see what I'm saying? Respect either way, but show me respectable. You see what I'm saying?
I'll speak on that in particular because I was a dancer for a brief period myself because times got hard after the Air Force and you got the same amount of bills and the same amount of money ain't coming in. So I used to drive. I used to drive to New Orleans at night, dance, and be in class in the morning. It, was going to college classes, but I hid that
Players
part.
Club, Diamond Diva Nicole, L.
I hid that part of me, and I hid it from my parents because I mean the reason why I couldn't even go to my parents for help because my parents they had this idea that once you grown you on your own because so I begged to be able to come back home and like go to school and even give them some rent money and stuff because
Right.
I was getting I was going to be getting a stipend from school, but they were like, no, you grown, you on your own, you can't come home. So that in turn ended up with me dancing when I was going to back interviews, but I was getting turned down. So I did what I had to do, but it's like it's bad that that is a legal job, and just because you're dancing don't mean that you're doing anything else. People have a perception that the girls do other stuff, but me personally, I was never that one. That was my bottom line. Like past this
Let
stage,
me ask you
all
this.
you're getting.
Right.
Were you ashamed of it?
I wasn't particularly ashamed of what I was doing, but I was worried about the perception that other people were going to put on me because of it. Because people saw me as this way, and if they saw that I did that too,
Like, dang, she used to be in the Air Force.
But why is that important?
Now at 32, I don't know why I feel. I can say like I now at 32, I don't give a fuck. But then
Right.
at 25, like I was in a very, very different transitional phase of my life to go from, having this set paycheck that comes in every 2 weeks and my rent and my car note is paid before I even get my check deposited in my account. Going from that and then going to having to do this, like it was a very different transitional phase where like I just I felt like people were going to look at me a different way, and like I said, like me being who I am now, it don't fucking matter.
I have a question about that. Because I got out the Air Force too, and it wasn't on we'll say not good terms. Because I went through this same feeling. Did you feel like that maybe you might have let people down who was depending on you?
Oh, definitely, because there was a lot of people. I mean, even back home, like people would have their kids talk to me and stuff about, they want their kids are considering joining the Air Force. They want their kids to talk to me. Like people had placed me on this kind of a pedestal,
Right.
and like I felt like I fell off of that, and I couldn't let people see that I had failed.
Well, let me ask you a couple questions, and you stop me when I'm wrong. Okay, what you were doing wasn't necessarily right or wrong. It was based on people's opinions, but it was because of what you absolutely had to do, right? Okay. And the last thing that you really needed, whether the people were correct about what they were saying, you didn't need somebody coming and criticizing you and saying what you're doing is bad and you shouldn't do this and you should be better and you should yada, yada, yada. It would have been way better if somebody would have came to you with care, with compassion, and saying, hey, let me show you a better way. Right.
Right.
That's what J. Cole felt.
Right.
That's what J. Cole felt.
Exactly. Like you can't put it no better way than that.
That's what he felt.
I saw that comment too. Yeah, that's basically what, and that's why I asked that question, because I was like, did you maybe feel like you let people down because, like you said, you was on a pedestal. They put you at a certain level, and they're like, look, we got you at this certain level, and you're like you're the one out of our whole family that made it and did something with themselves. Like, you got out of here and you went in the Air Force. Whoa. But it really ain't even all that. Like,
Yeah, because you're still human and you still
exactly.
are capable of making mistakes, and you want people to be understanding and compassionate, because if they were in your shoes, they'd have likely made the exact same decisions or the same mistakes or the same successes. But because no one else has been in your shoes, they should be compassionate of the things that you made the decision to do.
So this whole topic, everything that we're talking about right now actually relates to the topic about, you know, men and, you know, black women and black men being there for each other, because you don't know what that person went through. You don't know if they was, you know, put on this high pedestal and they felt like they might have let people down.
Right. And that's what I think J. Cole felt. He's just saying, sweetheart, I don't know no better. Don't beat me because I didn't know no better.
Your name is Toby.
You know I gotta do
it. Be you crazy. Be you crazy. But I'm just saying, all I'm saying is, man, we just gotta have we need to have more tolerance for each other and less tolerance for the BS. You see what I'm saying? I mean,
spread love.
We are so afraid for what our people are going to think of us. We are so afraid of the way our people are going to judge and label us. But we'll go die for us, but we won't live for us. We'll go lay down.
Will they really die for each other?
I mean, people taking rubber bullets and all these different things for the movement, and I'm all for that. But man, we won't. Shit. You walk past a woman walking into a restaurant, he won't hold the door. Or
that's true.
She dropped something on the floor, the keys, he won't pick it up.
Yep.
Or
and that's funny.
And
I have 2 boys and I teach them stuff like that.
Yeah. That's just what it's supposed to be.
Can I offer a suggestion on it?
Absolutely.
You being a man that notices that men are doing that, maybe you should, like you're doing the classes about credit and stuff, maybe you should do classes and mentor men on how to be gentlemen, or you know,
that would be a good idea.
Maybe awesome. That's what, you know, we can teach our women. Us as women can teach our women how to be better women. But
right.
We need y'all as men to teach the men how to be better men, not for us to teach y'all how to be better men.
I agree, but there's another level to this. A smart person told me, you can't treat me the way I want you to treat me if you don't know. I can do all the things I assume a woman would like, but you gotta help us. You have to teach us. You see what I'm saying? And we have to be open to learn. But those things that a woman liked didn't originate from a man. It originated from a woman saying, I like that. And then it just became a custom. You see what I'm saying? We learned you want your meal paid for when we go out to eat. And so when they put that check on the table, I need to go and grab that. That's a learned behavior. You see what I'm saying? We learned a lot of these things from you guys.
Watch you make that face.
Yeah, I can count on one hand the amount of times that's actually happened.
I can count. I will get mad at mine if she reached for that bill. We have to have constant arguments because, no, ma'am, you don't know. That's mine. That right there, that's mine. You see what I'm saying? And it's little things. The trash, that's mine. Let me take that out.
Please.
You see what I'm saying? That's mine.
My son is 10. He takes the trash out. I am not messing with it.
That's mine. And so those are things that, you know, I'm sorry that you've experienced that, but you get. I don't know, those fellas need to do better. You know what I mean?
That's why, like, you know, I've been really cooling on dating because, like,
right.
I should say this. I came to this philosophy in myself, like, that it's not, I don't have an issue with paying for a date. No, don't listen. My thing is, like,
but you should.
But it's like, if I asked you to go out somewhere, If it was my idea, then I'd say, okay, I'm paying. If you ask me out, I feel like you should pay. Now, I got accustomed to that. If I went somewhere, I always came with money in my pocket because I already know, like, this dude at the end of the night, he gonna start tripping. And the times that a dude actually does pay, the shit has surprised me. So I'll be like, you know what? Fuck going on these damn dates. I'm just gonna take myself out.
So let me ask you this.
I'm gonna be paying anyways. I'm gonna take
I want
myself
to give you
out.
an example how we miss the opportunity to build each other. So let me give you an example. When the dude does pay, how many times does the woman say, hey, you know what? The last date I went on, the guy didn't do that. Thank you. That shows that you are really a gentleman. Or when the guy doesn't pay and you say, hey, listen, I'm going to pay for this, but I want you to understand that my view of a man being a gentleman is that you pay for the meal, not beat him up about it, educate him. How many times do we do that? What we do is if we have to pay for that bill, we slam in the door when we get back in the car. We slam in the door when we get to the house because we pissed off because we have an expectation that we've set mentally that we didn't communicate.
If y'all arguing about who paying the bills and y'all live in the same house, that's a problem.
I'm not slamming the door at the end of the night and then he drives off.
Oh yeah, either way, that's still a problem. Because that should be understood in the dating. Like that's the reason why y'all are dating, because y'all are at that level of understanding now. Y'all talking about like just getting to know each other. Then yeah, no.
Because here's the thing.
You're talking about living together. We're talking about in the dating.
I'm talking about dating. I'm talking about period. If you take a woman out, that's what that looks like. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm old fashioned, but I can count on one finger the number of times I've allowed my woman to pay for the meal, especially when we getting to know each other. I'm trying to cash in.
Right.
You know,
you definitely need to teach some classes because they don't know. They ignorant out here.
They don't know.
That's what I said. They ignorant. They don't know.
Don't beat them because they don't know. Teach them.
They don't know. Yeah, and then you teach them and they're like, oh, you just want me for my money, blah, blah, blah. Like, everybody's trying to hear that. Like, I got my own money. Like, I'll pay for your meal like 3 times, bro. Like,
don't leave them because they're ignorant. Leave them because they're immature.
Exactly.
Don't leave them ignorant, though. In my opinion.
That's funny.
Well, guys, I didn't want to keep anybody on here this long, but it really has been a good discussion.
Definitely.
Blame B.
She was going in. I see all her crying, laughing emojis and stuff.
But
she said all of her men pay. Girl, how many you got?
I would like to do something like this again. Maybe like maybe not so late, and maybe like do it as more of a panel so we have more people on.
Yeah. I'm down.
So that's something I'm going to I'm gonna get with some people and try to put together, and we have it planned out a little bit longer. But this one was kind of something I was like, I felt like we just needed to talk about the topic while it was hot right then. But I do feel like this needs to be like a ongoing conversation, like a whole panel type situation. So I am going to look at trying to set that up. Whether it's we're still doing it this way with the COVID, or if we actually end up doing like a physical thing. But with me, you both, Travis being in Atlanta area, I think we can put our heads together and probably come up with something.
Oh yeah, whatever y'all need me to do, just let me know. I'm down. I'll always support you, girl.
Yeah. So
well, I definitely enjoyed talking to you, nice ladies. I'm available when I'm not, doing other things. So I mean, just I'm gonna come through for you all the time. You already know that.
Right.
Yeah, it was good speaking to you too, Travis. It was good to meet you too.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. I feel the same way.
Definitely. And enjoy the conversation with y'all and hope everybody has a good night.
Absolutely. Y'all too.
Thank everybody for tuning in, and be on the lookout for this panel. We're gonna plan it out right, and it's gonna be, we're gonna give everybody plenty of advance notice so we can have more engagement. So thank you guys and have a good night.
Blessings.
Bye.